Hi guys, this is CK at CK Education again, and today I want to share with you a story of a student. We'll call her Mina, and she went to a private school around here. And I not only want to talk about her, how she did on her SATs, but also a very important topic as it relates to college admissions. She was what I consider an underrepresented minority, and I want to talk to you about that and how important that is in your chances of getting admitted to a college. Now, when I say underrepresented minority, and the reason I'm sharing this story in relation to her is that she was one of those students. A lot of people think that I'm talking about ethnic background, like if you're Asian or if you're African American or if you're Caucasian. Or that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about underrepresented minority, let me give you an example. She was an Asian student who went to a private school that was predominantly Caucasian, and then she applied to colleges in a field that was predominantly Caucasian. Like, a lot of Asian students who are applying to those schools did not usually express interest in that particular field. Okay, so she applied to, for example, Johns Hopkins University and Georgetown University. Those are two of the places and I think she applied to one more school. She got into both Georgetown and Johns Hopkins. Very difficult schools to get into for anybody. Now, as an Asian student, if she had said, I'm interested in biochemistry or biomedical engineering at Johns Hopkins or even biology at Johns Hopkins, I think she would not have gotten in. It would have been very, very, very difficult because there's so many Asian kids who are in that same situation, that same group. She didn't do that. I mean, it's not like you can make this up, but that was not her interest. She wanted to study journalism or communications, something like that, in those kinds of fields, which is very rare for an Asian student to go into at Johns Hopkins University. And the same thing at Georgetown. Most Georgetown students, they're like, I want to do law, I want to become a lawyer, or I want to go into business or foreign relations, or something like this, political science perhaps. And again, she said, no, I'm more interested in journalism or media relations or communications, something of that sort, which was rare for an Asian to go into, still is, especially for kids applying to those schools. So that made her an underrepresented minority. There were not a lot of Asian kids in those departments, okay? The same thing would happen is if, let's say, a guy applies to Johns Hopkins and says, I'm interested in primary education. I'm studying just in education in general, but specifically primary education. And if any elementary school you go to, you'll see that the vast majority of the teachers in elementary schools are women. I mean, I think we would all probably agree with that, right? And so there's not a lot of guys, not a lot of males who go into that field for whatever reason. Or let's say, for example, I had a student who was female who applied to George Washington University one year, but a lot of kids applying to George Washington University, they go in as again, like political science or maybe international relations or business or something like that, or law, pre-law. She went in as a systems engineer. So first of all, very rare for a female student to go into the engineering department at George Washington, which is pretty much male dominated. But also that there weren't a lot of females. There just weren't a lot of students applying to the engineering department at George Washington University. That's not really what they're known for. But so she had that double advantage, a female and applying to engineering at a school that was not engineering dominant, which is actually an advantage. And so she got in and she did very well. And she's working as a consultant in one of the top consulting firms right now in the world. And so, but getting back to this student, Mina, she got into both of those schools. She got into Johns Hopkins and Georgetown, and then she later decided, I'm going to go to Georgetown, which was a great choice. And so, but let me tell you, when she started, her math score was 530, reading and writing were 650 for a beginning score of 1180. She ended up getting a 710 in math, which is a 180 point increase, and a 730 in reading and writing, which was an 80 point increase, for a total of 1440. This was a real test score that she got at the end, 1440. So she had 16 classes with me, not very many classes, and really that amounts to 24 hours of class time. She was a very good student. She showed leadership, and again, she had very sort of unique interests in the schools that she was applying to. And she was a great writer. She did a lot of extracurriculars and so forth. So even though 1440 is not, a lot of kids who get 1440 will not get into Hopkins or Georgetown. She was able to because she had a very good GPA and transcript and many other things, but also a large portion of it was that she was an underrepresented minority when she was applying to those schools. So I just want to say college admissions is it's a very multifaceted thing. It's not just SAT scores and GPA, it's SAT scores, it's GPA, it's extracurriculars, it's what kind of extracurriculars, it's how long you've been doing it, how passionate you are, and how can you show that, it's SAT subject test scores, it's like how the rigor of your academics, right? So it's how many APs and so forth, it's what school you went to and how you rank in your graduating class for that school. It's also, are you an underrepresented minority or are you an overrepresented minority for the school that you're applying to? So many factors go in. Will you need financial aid or not? Do you have any legacy there? Do you have any parents or relatives, or not relatives, but parents or siblings who have attended that school or are attending that school? There's many factors that go into it. So, but being an underrepresented minority is definitely one of those advantages. Okay, that's just a fact. So anyway, I wanted to share that story with you. I hope you found it helpful. And as always, if you're interested in becoming one of my students, the best thing to do is to go to my website, ckeducation.org, and fill out the SAT Prep application form. And in the application form, there's a comment section at the bottom. And if you would put in why you think you would be a great fit to become one of my students there, I'll look at every application. I can't take every student, but I'll do my very best to accommodate you, especially if I think that you'll be a great fit as one of my students. And so I will get back to you personally. You won't get someone else or an automated email. I will get back to you personally. So I hope to hear from you. And until my next video, stay well, and I'll see you later.